It was a Tuesday, January 15th, 1947. A chilly morning for Los Angeles, the kind that makes you pull your coat a little tighter. A young mother, Betty Bersinger, was out for a walk with her 3-year-old daughter. They were strolling down Norton Avenue in Leimert Park, a quiet, respectable, up-and-coming neighborhood. It was just after 10 o'clock, but something on the side of the road, nestled in the overgrown grass of a vacant lot, caught Betty's eye. It looked wrong, out of place. Was it a mannequin, perhaps? One of those store dummies broken and discarded? That's what she thought at first. That's what she hoped it was. She edged closer, her daughter's small hand in hers. The object was pale, unnervingly white against the damp earth. As the features came into focus, a cold dread began to creep up her spine, a feeling that this was no discarded piece of plastic. It was bisected, severed cleanly at the waist. The two halves were positioned a foot apart, posed almost deliberately. The arms were raised above the head, the legs spread apart in a grotesque parody of repose. The initial thought, the hopeful thought of a mannequin, evaporated in the harsh light of reality. Who was she? Before she was a headline, before she was a gruesome discovery in a vacant lot, she was a person. A young woman with hopes and a history. Her name was Elizabeth Short. She was born in Hyde Park, Massachusetts in 1924, one of 5 daughters. Her father, a man who built miniature golf courses, lost everything in the 1929 stock market crash. A year later, his car was found abandoned on a bridge. It was assumed he had taken his own life. Elizabeth was a striking girl. Pale skin, violet blue eyes, a cascade of dark black hair. She suffered from asthma, and her doctors suggested a warmer climate might do her good. So, at 19, she headed west to California to live with the father she barely knew. But the arrangement didn't last. She was a young woman eager for life, for the excitement of the city, and he was a man expecting a quiet housekeeper. They argued, and soon, Elizabeth was on her own. She worked odd jobs, as a waitress mostly, moving from place to place. She was a transient, a wanderer caught in the powerful current of post-war America, drifting between cities, never staying in one place for too long. They called her the Black Dahlia. The nickname was a stroke of macabre marketing likely born in a smoky press room, a play on the film noir The Blue Dahlia. The name stuck. Evocative, mysterious, perfectly suited the dark glamour the media wove. She was no longer just a victim. She was a character. The beautiful raven-haired girl with a flower pinned in her hair, drawn to the bright lights of Hollywood, only to be consumed by its darkness. The press painted her as a tragic figure, a lost soul. The public was utterly captivated. Her final days were a puzzle box of contradictions. She'd been staying in San Diego with a man named Robert Red Manley, a married salesman she had recently met. He drove her to Los Angeles and dropped her at the Biltmore Hotel on January 9th. He said she was going to meet her sister from Boston. But her sister wasn't there. These lost days became known as the missing week, the period between leaving the Biltmore and her body being found a black hole in the timeline where the key to the mystery lay hidden. Elizabeth Short, the drifter, the dreamer, the girl with the flower in her hair, had become a ghost. The crime scene itself was a testament to a chilling, almost surgical precision. When the Los Angeles police first examined the body of Elizabeth Short, they were confronted with a level of brutality that was almost beyond comprehension. She had been severed in half at the waist, with a technique known as a hemicorporectomy. It was a clean-cut, surgical precision. It suggested knowledge of anatomy, perhaps a surgeon, or a butcher, or a medical student. There was no blood at the scene, not on the body, not on the ground around it. This told investigators she had been killed elsewhere. Her body had been drained of blood. The body had been washed, then transported to the vacant lot to be deliberately posed. The mutilations were extensive and horrific. A slash ran from each corner of her mouth up toward her ears, creating a ghastly permanent smile, a Glasgow smile, or a Cheshire grin. The grotesque injury was designed to shock, to terrorize. There were other cuts and lacerations on her body, rope marks on her wrists, on her ankles, and on her neck. Those marks indicated she had been bound and tortured, possibly for several days. The official cause of death was cerebral hemorrhage from blows to the head, combined with shock from the facial lacerations. The investigation into the murder of Elizabeth Short was, at the time, the most extensive and expensive in the history of the Los Angeles Police Department. Hundreds of officers were assigned to the case, LAPD and other agencies. They interviewed thousands, chasing down every possible lead. They spoke to every man listed in her address book. They tracked down old boyfriends, However, the police effort was severely hampered from the start, not just by the killer's cunning, but by the press. The Black Dahlia case exploded into a full-blown media circus. Los Angeles Examiner, Los Angeles Herald-Express. Locked in a fierce circulation war, they sensationalized every detail. They printed rumors as facts. They embellished details. They offered rewards for information. This media frenzy created a storm of false leads and fake tips. The police switchboards were overwhelmed with calls from cranks. About a week after the body was found, James Richardson, the editor of the Examiner, received a phone call. The caller congratulated him on the coverage and said he would be sending some of Elizabeth's belongings as proof. The next day, a package arrived. Social security card, birth certificate, photographs, an address book with the name Mark Hansen on the cover. In a case with no hard evidence, everyone becomes a suspect. Over the years, the Black Dahlia investigation produced a long, bewildering list of potential killers, a veritable parade of phantoms. More than 150 people have been seriously considered as suspects. The initial focus fell on the men who were with Elizabeth in her final days. Robert Red Manley, the salesman who dropped her off at the Biltmore, was an early person of interest. He was questioned extensively and passed lie detector tests. He had a solid alibi and was eventually cleared. Still, the cloud of suspicion lingered over him for the rest of his life. Mark Hansen, wealthy nightclub and theater owner. His name was on the cover of the address book mailed to the press. Elizabeth had stayed at his home briefly. Decades later, more compelling theories emerged. Dr. George Hodel, prominent LA physician with a dark side. His son, Steve Hodel, a retired LAPD detective, became convinced his father was the killer. Steve's book, Black Dahlia Avenger, lays out extensive circumstantial evidence. Hodel had surgical skills, a sinister reputation, and handwriting similarities to the killer's notes. A 1950 bug transcript recorded him. "Supposin' I did kill the Black Dahlia. They can't prove it now." It's a tantalizing theory, convincing to many, but still only a theory. In the immediate aftermath of the murder and for years to come, a strange phenomenon took hold: the confessions. Dozens came forward claiming to be the Black Dahlia's killer. In the first few weeks alone, the LAPD dealt with over 60 confessions. Most were easily dismissed. They were from alcoholics, attention seekers, mentally ill individuals, all caught up in the media hysteria. One of the most notable came from Joseph A. Dumais, an Army corporal stationed at Fort Dix, New Jersey. He confessed to his superiors with a rambling story about meeting a woman named Betty in a Hollywood bar, getting drunk and waking up to find her dead. His story had inconsistencies and parts seemed imagined, but he knew certain details not widely reported. Then came taunting notes and letters, some treated as credible communications from the killer. A series of messages, crudely pasted from newspaper clippings and magazine clippings, was sent to the press. One read, "Here it is. Turning in wed Jan 29, 10 a.m. Had my fun at police." Another said, "Change of plans. He won't let me. Dahlia killing was justified." The Black Dahlia case was never just a crime story, it was a Hollywood story. Born in the shadow of the studio gates, its legend was nurtured by the entertainment industry. The narrative was irresistible. The beautiful, starstruck young woman arrives in the City of Angels with dreams of fame, only to meet a gruesome end. This Hollywood link is why the story won't fade. It taps our fascination with fame, beauty, and the darkness beneath glamour. The case inspired countless books, films, television shows. James Ellroy's 1987 novel, The Black Dahlia, is the most famous example. Ellroy, whose mother was also a murder victim, used the mystery to probe 1940s LA's corrupt soul. His novel and the 2006 Brian De Palma film brought the case to a new generation, blending fact and fiction into obsession and conspiracy. It turned the Dahlia into living American mythology. The influence keeps spreading. She is a permanent resident in Hollywood's garden of dark folklore, a ghost on the boulevard of broken dreams. So why? Why does this one case, among thousands of unsolved murders, still haunt us? Why, after nearly 80 years, does the name Black Dahlia still conjure such a potent mixture of fascination and horror? Perhaps it's because the case represents a perfect storm of mystery. It has a beautiful victim. It has a tragic life, a puzzle in itself. It has a crime of unimaginable brutality. The crime was committed with chilling artistic precision. The killer was a monster. The killer was a ghost, a phantom. He taunted the police, then vanished into thin air. He left behind no clues, only questions. The timing of the murder plays a crucial role in its legacy. Post-war Los Angeles, boundless optimism. Post-war Los Angeles, deep-seated corruption. The case ripped the sunny facade off the dream factory. It exposed the rot underneath. It held up a mirror to the city's anxieties. Ultimately, the Black Dahlia case endures because it is a story without an ending. Our minds are wired to seek closure, to find answers, to see justice done. This case denies us that satisfaction. The killer was never caught, never punished, never definitively identified. We always will be.